My personal background is FMCG corporate world. I've spent 15 years in different MNCs. So my situation was a little very different, leaving a very successful career, and where I had promises of few big things coming in the coming 2 3 years. So it was not easy for me to take this decision. But I think just before I go there, a little background of Back Gallery. Back Gallery is of course a beauty and fashion e-commerce platform. But this was started by my wife, so I still work with her. We both are co-founders. She's the one who started it. It was started in where I was trying to save some money. My credit card bill was going up and up. Being a female, she was shopaholic. So she asked me one day, I want to do something. So I thought you do shopping the best. Why don't you do something in this area? So that's how this baby was born. I was trying to save some money, but that I ended up giving all my money to this startup. So all my savings went into it. So that's how the birth of Back Gallery came in. But she did amazing job in the first 2 3 years, and we got a lot of traction from the market. So I thought it is something which we can really make big, and I should also join her completely to take it to the next level. So that's how it was started. But the real objective which both of us had was we were being out of Pakistan for good 12 13 years. So we thought we owe it to the country. We have to add some value back to the society. And that's how we wanted to give it back, where we try to create value in the system. We try to create the jobs in the system, because I think yes, governments are doing their best of their abilities, but I think private sector has a lot to play a role in our economy and society going forward, and that's how we wanted to give it back to the society. Being based in Middle East, we had a lot of exposure how the startup world was growing here, because Middle East was, I think, 4 5 years ahead of Pakistan when it comes to startup and the ecosystem. So we have seen the success of Souk being bought over by Amazon. We've seen how Namshi became a big platform in Middle East. So we had that exposure, and we always thought that how can we have something similar to offering to the consumers of Pakistan, because they also deserves to buy with convenience at their doorstep. So that's what we have seen here, and we thought it would be good to develop something similar in Pakistan, so that we can also create some success stories. So that's how we kept going on it. It is not easy, of course, as startup. Ons mentioned it that you don't have a work-life balance. I totally agree with him. And a lot of people see only the success stories, where there are a lot of failures and a lot of challenges you face on the journey to this success. So I think it's not easy to develop or build a successful startup. It's a tough job, but I think if you are really passionate about something, the chances of success are very high. Yes, in Pakistan, you mentioned that very few startups have been successful. You mentioned 3%. But I think it is also about when you have a passion to do something, the chances of success goes much higher. Also, the failures come at the back of a lot of things. Sometimes you have a great idea, but you don't have the right funding. Sometimes you don't have the right team. So it has to be a combination of everything when you want to try to build something very big and something successful. We were lucky that we had a very good team from the beginning. So yes, there are a lot of shortages of resources in Pakistan. There is no doubt about it. But I think still you need to build a good team, because if you don't have the good team, the chances of success are, I would say, very minimal. You can't do everything yourself. So for us, the first thing we did was have a very good team on ground which can really lead the project and give their best. And also, I think when you develop a team, it's also important to take ownership from their side also. So I think engaging them, involving them in the strategy, making them part of the business is something which is critical to keep their interest intact and bring out the owner's mindset from their side. So that is something which we tried to do, and it is purely because of the team we were able to pull off in the first few years. Yes, funding is also important, and it plays a significant role when you try to scale up. uh, Raising money is not easy. I can tell you this, that nobody gives money without free lunches, I would say. So it's hard to convince people. It takes a lot of time. I think tolerance is very important when you try to raise money, and that's what I think the real game is. But at the same time, I think if your product is good, if your product is scalable, I think these two things are very good. If you have a differentiated product and it has scale, then the chances of getting interest from the investors or the VCs is I would say, relatively simpler and easier job. But again, when somebody is starting, a startup, normally, especially when you do it at early stage or early age, you don't think about these things, and the guidance in Pakistan was very limited 4 years back when we started this. But now I think the ecosystem is developing, and I think the kids who are doing this now will find it relatively, I would say, easier, because they will have a lot of guidance from the VCs, from the incubation centers, from the founders like us, who can help them really shape their thinking, and from day one have a good business plan which can offer them more, I would say, chances of success going forward. So that's a little bit about our story. Yes, it was from my personal side. It was very difficult. There were a lot of people who were saying, "Why you wanna leave a very successful career and go to something which is small at this point of time?" But at the same time, there were a lot of people who were around me that this is the time to do it. So it was quite confusing. Quite a lot of people giving different opinion, but in the end, if you have your heart in it, if you have a passion to do something, I think it makes it easier for you to take a decision, and that's how I took the decision. And that's about it. And